Hi, this is Shady Attia, Assistant Professor of Sustainable Architecture and Building Technology, and I'm going to talk with you today about planning your postdoc. Well, the audience of my presentation today is early career researchers who are in a transition period between a PhD and a fixed contract job. So the postdoc in this sense is I'm looking to present the postdoc presentation in the context of PhDs who are in this transition period. Well, what is the context of today's presentation? I will talk about how to apply for employment, how to open your mind and address this new transition with a more open mind, preparing your skill set for different scenarios and preparing yourself for the business world. And I'm looking to prepare how to seek a fixed position in a company or in academia. Also, I'm going to talk about the postdoc work description so that you get more familiar what is a postdoc and what are the expectations of a postdoc. And finally, I will talk about the professional situation for postdocs. Well, let's start first of all, what is a postdoc, and let's get more familiar about it. Postdoc is a transition period in your life between your PhD and your future job. And you should take it as this step between a kind of student life. This is the end of your PhD, and now you are getting into the employment life. Also, you need to be ready for this step, so therefore it's very important to address it early on. Don't be confined in your research job. Improve your soft skills and try to better understand the business world during your PhD development. So it's very important to have this mindset while you are working on your PhD. It's also important to seek help from your university to plan better transition. And in every university you will find career consultants or career centers where they can help you to prepare yourself for the work life. So it's very important to benefit from those services and to get exposed to these ideas early on during your PhD. Well, number one, applying for a postdoc. Well, normally to apply for a postdoc, you should keep in mind that applying for employment opportunity is a typical and classical activity that you will do during your future career. So from now on, applying for postdoc or other employment chances, you should take it into account once you are reaching the mid of your PhD. Be proactive to plan your future in order to do what you really want in your life. And it's very important here to keep in mind that even if you are doing a PhD, it's not necessary to think that after a PhD you will stay in academia. So don't hesitate. It's not a failure to leave academia, and if you are doing your PhD and you are in a transition period looking for a postdoc or looking for another job after the PhD, you should be very aware about what is your plan of your life. Do you want to stay in academia? Do you want to continue to do research? Do you want to do something else? So it's a very good opportunity in this sense to apply for a postdoc and use it as a transition period, or otherwise you can directly decide after your PhD. Well, most promoters, they will not encourage you to find a job outside of the university, so don't be naive. In many situations, we find good promoters who are involved in helping the PhD students to go beyond their PhD activities and look to the next step. But in most cases, promoters are busy in their own research world and they are expecting that a PhD will continue with a postdoc. So don't count on your promoter. It is your responsibility to plan this step. Also, it's not a betrayal to apply for a position outside your university. I met many postdocs and many PhDs who are considering applying in other places while doing their PhD as a betrayer or something, which is totally unprofessional and it's totally not correct. When you do a PhD, you have to think about your own personal life. When you do even a postdoc, you can even start a postdoc and later on find another better opportunity. You have always to think that at the end of the day, it's about your own professional and personal career development, and you have to plan it. So please don't count on others in this sense. Maybe you can consult your promoter, you can ask for them, but they will not plan that for you. It's not their responsibility, it is your responsibility. So please think about that, and you should not stick to the rule of being loyal means that I cannot apply in other places. That's not true. You can be in your end of your PhD years and you start to apply in other places. The same if you are even starting a postdoc, you can apply in parallel to look at opportunities. Also, you must apply at least 1 year ahead, so plan this step very importantly to do that, because postdocs announcement, they take time and they are involving recruitment process, interviews, sending documents, approvals, getting permissions. If you are a foreigner, you will go also through immigration. So it's very important to think about planning ahead at least 1 year in advance. It's not logic to finish your PhD and just at the end of your PhD, the last 2 or final months, you start to think about your postdoc. Because if you apply at the end of your PhD, imagine it's the 48th month, you have to wait almost 1 year before you start your postdoc. So actually you should plan your postdoc during your 2nd or 3rd year of PhD, assuming that your PhD is a 4-year PhD. Now, the second thing I would like to talk about is opening your mind. It's very important to open your mind and to think strategically for this transition step. Well, determine your preferences. It's very important as a PhD that you look at what do you want to do after your PhD. For sure, a PhD provides you with diverse experiences, from conducting lab experiments to giving talks and supervising students. But in the same time, you should be more aware about, is this the thing you would like to do in the future? Would you like to continue in this career, or would you like to do something else? So develop a range of skills that can help you to maneuver and to move and to explore different terrains in case you are not feeling so well with the domain of research. So develop a range of skills. It is important, for example, for me to be aware about actively develop transferable skills. When I did my PhD, I was aware about that, and I wanted to look at how to work work as a teamwork, line management, do more project management, written communication, present in conferences. So as a PhD, you should keep these plans early on and try to expand your capacity, especially when we talk about management skills, when we talk about transversal skills or soft skills related to team work. And this is important because most of the time PhD work is an individual process, and if you miss the opportunity to get engage or develop your personal skills, it might be risky later on to be prepared for the market. Also, find out what's out there. It's very important to look at what can the university offer you. Whatever university you are, there will be a kind of career center. So University Career Services is a good place to start. Career advisors are always available, and they regularly encounter PhD students with doubts about their future roles, and they can help you to structure and assess yourself regarding your preferences. You are a person who would like to work in team, would like to work individually, would you like to work in industry, in research, in labs, would you like to do more communication, more marketing, management, and so on. So try to broadly match your preferences and skill to specific roles, so that when you are graduating, you are able to sell yourself and to convince your recruiter that you have a diverse set skill of soft and transversal skills that makes you from day one an active team member regardless of your specialization. Well, how to develop your soft skills? Stop your technical skills because you are at the top. I mean here that you have already most probably your first preliminary courses, 60 credits, first year of your PhD. So technically you should be well, but I'm talking here about non-technical courses. Non-technical courses related to business, management, communication, marketing, soft skills, team building, even self-assessments. Prioritize your soft skills. You should be aware about yourself by the end of your PhD. It's very important to know what kind of soft skills you are strong at, and you have to identify those soft skills. If you are not knowing what are your soft skills that you are strong at least try to look at these trainings and to become more familiar about the different sets of soft skills and identify for yourself the most strengths of you. PhD graduates often prefer to concentrate on research and sometimes lack the skills and experience for management roles, and this is one of the big complaints that come from the industry, especially when PhDs go seek jobs in the industry or in practice. Well, you have to keep into account most probably when you end up your PhDs, you are in your early 30s, which means simply that you will be in a transition between being a junior and a senior. At that age you are neither a senior neither a junior, but most of the time one of the expectations of any company or institution that will recruit you, they will have high expectation of management. So you should expect that and you should prepare for that. So my advice here is that management, the more you grow up, will be part of your daily activity. So keep it in mind and prepare yourself for this transition in case you are willing to take this challenge. Another important thing is that graduate school offer a variety of workshops to prepare yourself for the job market. So seize the opportunity. Directly check your university website for any career trainings and get involved early, even during your first or second PhD years. Follow these courses, seize opportunities. If there is any opportunity about startups, business plans, management, communication skills, team building skills, and so on, directly engage. I advise you so that you are able later on to smoothly transfer from a career as a PhD student to a professional. Well, if you look at what happens with PhDs, this is a statistic of our Faculty of Applied Sciences or the School of Engineering at Liège University, and as you can see, there is a huge diversity of what happens with PhDs. 20% of them, they go do postdocs, so this is the purpose of this presentation. I prepared those 20%, but in the same time, almost 80% they don't continue doing a postdoc, but they do other things. Some of them, they work independently, they start their startups. Some of them, they go work in public research sector. Some of them work in higher education. Others work in public research, others work in private research. So you will find different variation of recruitment pools where a PhD will go to. So keep in mind that not every PhD will do a postdoc. A lot of PhDs, after they finish their PhD, they decide to directly work after. However, if you are seeking to continue working in academia, most probably you will need to do a postdoc to be able to continue as an assistant professor or a tenure track later on. But you have to open your mind that it's not everyone will do a postdoc. Well, the industry is seeking always management experience and preferably experience of work in an international environment. Keep that in mind. So when you prepare your CV and while you are going through your PhD research years, keep in mind that at a certain moment, maybe someone or some companies will benefit from your skill set that you are developing. Maybe management for your PhD or working in an international environment is good for publications, but it's also very important for your next recruiting company that will pick you. So keep that in mind. Companies that are recruiting PhDs, they are looking for management experience and they are looking for experience working in international environments. It's also very important to keep in mind that not every PhD graduate is cut out for a commercial, result-driven environment. If you are a PhD and you decide later on to work in a company or an industry or in practice, you will find that the business in general, the nature of business is to look at result-driven performance, where you are always looking to business development, marges, how to achieve goals, how to increase the business opportunities. So many PhDs, they are not able to do that or they are not prepared for it. But if you are seeking industry and you are looking to work in companies as a consultant or as an expert after your PhD, you should be prepared for that and you can train yourself for that. So it's a matter of your interest. If you are interested and you don't have the skill sets, just be aware about it and start to prepare yourself, take the training and look at trainings that can make you more integrated within a industrial or a professional practical company context. Also, moreover, many are so smart so that they pick up those management skills in few years. So keep in mind also it's a training process. Even if you are not well familiar or not experienced with management, many of postdocs or PhD mainly, while they are taking new jobs, they pick up very fast the management skills and they meet the expectation of the business world. So it's not a big challenge. It depends on your interest and your self-investment in yourself and in your skill set to be able to face the business world. Well, The third aspect I would like to talk about is how to prepare for a fixed position. Why I'm saying here fixed position? By fixed position, I would like to say that you are going into a transition of more stability. You will not continue your life only on temporary contracts. After doing a PhD, you deserve to have, like most other people, a fixed position, and it's important to prepare for this transition. So first of all, have a reflection on where you want to live and work. It's very important. Where you want to live, where you want to work, where you want to have a family or establish family, or if you already have a family, how you want to proceed with your family. So it's very important to have a strategy that is beyond the work, that goes into family future, at least on the short term, meaning that the coming 5 years, what do you want to do? It's also important to look at where are my opportunities. Do I want to work in the public sector? Do I want to work in the private sector? Do I want to work as an independent? Those are the three options that you have. So you have to be clearly identifying and distinguishing those three domains and preparing yourself to be ready to apply in each of them, because each of those domains has a different set of expectations. Public sector university means that you have to focus on publications, working on exchange projects, and so on, and you are familiar with that since you are doing a PhD. Working in the private sector, it was just the previous slides that I was talking about, how to prepare for the business world, where there is expectation for management and for teamwork ability in an international environment. And finally, if you are working as an independent, you have to be ready to establish your own company as a startup, work with a very little number of employees, having your business plan, looking at the cash flow, looking at funding, and so on and so forth. So it's very important to think here strategically where I'm going and what will be my next step, and check always immigration conditions, because if you are an immigrant, it can be also an issue to check what kind of opportunity I can have, or which kind of legal frameworks the countries allow for immigrants to work in. So make sure to have a second plan, and that's my advice. I think the more you have second and third plan, the more you will avoid surprises or negative surprises. It's not logic at all to put all your energy on one scenario or on one plan and assume that this will be the working plan. I think that having several plans, contingency plan, plan B, plan C, can help you to face the surprises that you will have while you are in this transition between a PhD and a postdoc, or even between a postdoc and a fixed contract. Now, if you start your postdoc and you are working on it, keep in mind that a postdoc should not exceed 3 years of work, because it's by default a transition period. So in this sense, a postdoc is a 3-year period, maximum you stay for 3 years, and then you seek your fixed contract opportunity, because anyway, if you stay longer in the postdoc, you make it difficult for yourself to get integrated in a university or in the private sector, or even work as an independent. So it's very important to make several plans and start as early as possible to jump from your postdoc to your fixed contract or to your fixed position. For sure, you will have a difficulty to find a fixed position after the postdoc directly, but at least you will have a transition of some months or a year, and then you can get a fixed contract. Well, what about family? Keep in mind also at that time of your career, if you are a postdoc, most probably you are in your 30s, meaning that if you have a family or if you don't have a family, it's the time to think about that. What are your plans? What are you going to do? It's important to keep this into account so that you have a whole vision about your future that will go more into a stable future as expected. Well, organize talks. This can help you. These are some tips, meaning that you can organize a series of talks of people you trust, people who are actually having jobs, and especially previous postdocs or previous PhDs who finished their postdoc and they got recruited in a place. So this might be interesting. You call them, you send them an email, you try to take an appointment, and you exchange with them and you talk with them about the learned lessons, and this can be beneficial. Also, you can build up your own network. There is another presentation that I gave, it's called Digital ID for Researchers. Building up your LinkedIn profile is very important, your ResearchGate profile, Google Scholar, your ORCID profile. All these advices are in the video entitled Digital ID of Researchers. If you didn't watch it, I advise you to look at it, because by building a LinkedIn or social media profile, it can help you to keep track of other connections, easily access their work, and easily contact them in case you need them, and simply you can see how they're evolving, how was their step from a place to a place, what did they do after their postdoc, and this might be inspiring you, or at least validating assumptions on what you can do later on. Also, it's important to arrange an internship. I advise you strongly, if you are looking to work in the business world, in the industry, or in private offices, or in the private sector in general, I advise you to arrange an internship. Even if you are going to work in a big organization, even if it's a governmental or non-governmental, it's very worth it during your postdoc to arrange an internship. An internship would make sense to work from 3 months to 6 months. During your postdoc, you can travel to such a company to check what you can learn there, what you can provide them as a transition for your next step. So use your supervisor's network, I advise that, and do some cold email people and ask them for internship or work shadowing opportunities. This is very important, and take it serious even during recruitment exhibitions or career workshops. You can simply seek that by building up your network and offering opportunities to work with the industry or with governmental organizations as a transition to your next step. Well, point number 4, postdoc work description. So what should I do as a postdoc? What is the job description of a postdoc? For sure, a postdoc job description varies from a place to another. You will most probably get a contract, and in that contract you will find a series of tasks and job description that describes what you should do and what is expected from you. But the ideal best practice for a postdoc is to do the following activities. You have something around 20% of your activities are for research, so 20% of your work should go for research and publications. Then you have 20% also of your time going for coaching. So you have to propose master thesis, for example, topics. You can share that with your supervisor, ask your supervisor to allow you to supervise or co-supervise master thesis, propose ideas. So this can be another 20%. So 20% research, 20% coaching. Then funding should take something around 15% of your time. Fundraising meaning that you identify the funding pools, create a map for funding opportunity nationally, regionally, locally, internationally, on a continent level, and start to seek different goals and start to prepare proposals and build up networks of teams to set up proposals, whether they are research proposals or research industry proposals. So this is something around 15% of your time, which makes the rest of your work can be teaching. Teaching also, it's the opportunity to do during the postdoc. Here I'm talking about 15% of your time can go for teaching, meaning that simply if you teach for 15%, you need to do that to prepare for the next step. If you seek academia, if you are looking to go apply as an assistant professor after your postdoc, you must get the best out of your postdoc through teaching. So this is a 15% of your time. Then the last thing that you have to do is reviewing papers. Reviewing papers and proposal can be something like 5% of your time. Maybe I'm mistaken with the percentages, because I remember it is 5% for review papers and proposals, 15% teaching, this makes it 20, and then you have 10% for fundraising. I'm sorry, I'm correcting myself. 30% for research and 30% for coaching. So a postdoc, by definition, or the best practice, is that you have 30% of your time as a postdoc is on research, 30% is going for coaching. Then you have 10% 15% for fundraising, 15% for teaching, and finally 5% for reviewing papers. So these are the main activities. For sure, I didn't want to put numbers because the activity balance varies from a university to another, but in general it's a 30-30, 15-15, 10 issue. It varies from place to place. The most important for you that you make sure that you cross all or guarantee to go through all those 5 major activities during your postdoc and have a reflection of those activities as deliverables or as activities that correspond to those 5 axes. So this is very important. Well, conclusion, I'm coming to the end. Simply plan your next step. The postdoc is a transition period. Don't assume you will have a job just because you have a PhD. A postdoc is difficult to have. You must apply for it early on. You have to have a network, you have to have a project, you have to seek somebody, and this, most of the cases for a postdoc, these are calls that come. Some professor might offer you a postdoc in the same institution. It's not recommended because the idea of your postdoc is to move to another establishment to prepare for your next step. If you have a postdoc opportunity, grab it, you can go for it, but you have to invest in yourself during your postdoc and build up your network at now, as soon as possible while you're doing your postdoc. Because as I told you before, it's the transition, and this will be the last opportunity if you decide to leave academia. So it's the last opportunity to go prepare yourself. So plan ahead, set up alternative scenarios, very important, very crucial, and engage with the public as much as you can. Social media, networks, expo, fairs, activities, conferences. These are my advices for postdocs to be ready for this transition. And finally, I can thank you for your attention. I advise you to subscribe if you are interested. You can also get some content related material if you check this web link. I have other presentations related to postdocs. Maybe you can look at them if you did not see them. And finally, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I'm glad to present you this presentation based on several interviews I did with different postdocs, and I wish you the best of luck and thank you for your attention.